Have you ever wondered if your sports cards are worthless or possibly worth thousands? Today, I'm going to help educate you on if your sports cards hold value. First off, to understanding what your collection is worth is understanding the years your cards were produced. For most people, you're going to have either modern collections or collections that were produced in what we call the junk wax era. If your cards were produced between 1986 to 1993, your cards are probably pretty common. On the other side, if you have cards produced pre 1900 until about 1986 or so, you're probably going to have some value in that sports card collection. Another time period that shows lots of value is anything between the years 1993 and 2018. These cards weren't overprinted if you get the right players and you get the rare stuff. But those years tend to be pretty strong as well. If you don't know how to find when your cards were produced, it's actually sort of easy. You just flip the cards over. On the bottom of the back of the card, most cards have in small letters the date the card was produced. For example, right here, this Joe Mixon card, if you turn it over, on the bottom, there's small letters there. That says 2021. That was the year it was produced. And it also shows you what era that card is from. If you don't have that many sports cards, one thing you can do is look up the prices of your cards on eBay. eBay's the #1 site for buying and selling sports cards, so you're going to see a lot more transactions than other marketplaces. All you have to do is type in the name of the card, the number on the back, and lastly, the date the card was produced. If you type all these things in the search bar on eBay, it will give you a better idea of what they're selling for. So that'll give you a good idea of what the card is actually worth. On the other end, if you have a lot of sports cards and you don't really have the time to look at what your cards are worth, a good thing to do that will save you a lot of time is going to a local card shop and asking them their advice. Have them really look at your collection and they'll give you an honest answer on if what you have is a bunch of junk wax, which means it's probably not worth that much, or they'll let you know and say, hey, this is some nice stuff, maybe even wanting to purchase it from you. What I would recommend, just get their advice, hold off on selling some of your stuff, especially if you have some nice stuff, just so you can get more info on what you actually have in front of you. That way, make sure you're not getting ripped off, but you're also getting input from other people, especially ones that do sports cards full time. Another thing that's important is rookie cards play a big role in pricing as well. So the first year that cards are produced of that player tend to hold a premium over years in the future. Tom Brady was drafted in the year 2000, meaning cards in that year are generally more expensive than cards later on. For example, this is a card produced in 2004, 4 years after he was drafted. It's not that expensive. You can find it pretty easily on eBay. But cards that were printed in 2000, I don't have one unfortunately with me right now, those are worth a lot more money due to the fact it was in the first year his cards were produced. Something that's really important, especially in the vintage era, is the condition of your cards. You might have a lot of good stuff. You might have a lot of older cards that are worth a lot of money, but if they're all beat up, they're in really bad condition, it will play a factor in what the cards are actually worth. So when you might have some good stuff, condition does play a factor. So keep that in mind when trying to sell or when trying to understand the value of your cards. For example, the Mickey Mantle PSA 10 is projected to go for around $37 million. That same card in a PSA 1 condition, meaning it's on the lowest of the scale that PSA grades, it would only be a $50,000 card on a good day. So that shows you the price difference and how much condition matters, especially on the vintage side of things. At the end of the day, understanding the value of your collection does take a lot of time. If you don't have the time to understand the pricing of everything you have in your collection, that's totally okay. There are lots of people that would be willing to help. My advice would be try not to sell too quick, because that's where a lot of people lose a lot of money on a lot of sports cards that they had in their house, they thought wasn't worth that much. Turned out somebody got a really good deal. With that said, make sure you take your time with this, even if you're trying to get rid of everything. Take your time, get a lot of advice from people of what it's actually worth, then go about how to sell. All right, guys, well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys learned something. I'm going to be putting out more sports card content, so feel free to tune in, subscribe, and I'm going to be pumping out some more content soon. So join the family, and I'll see you guys on the next one.